Why do people distance themselves after intimacy? It's one of the most confusing and painful experiences in relationships. Things feel close, warm, connected, and then suddenly, something changes. Messages become shorter. Energy feels different. Emotional presence fades. And you're left wondering what went wrong, even though nothing obvious happened. The truth is, when intimacy grows, it doesn't always create comfort. For many people, closeness actually activates fear. Not because they don't care, but because intimacy forces them to confront emotions they've spent years avoiding. Intimacy means being seen. It means allowing someone to witness your flaws, insecurities, and emotional needs. For emotionally guarded people, this level of exposure can feel overwhelming. Their nervous system reads closeness as danger, not safety. One of the biggest psychological reasons people pull away after intimacy is fear of vulnerability. Vulnerability requires emotional openness, honesty, and the risk of being hurt. If someone has learned that vulnerability leads to pain, rejection, or abandonment, their mind will automatically try to protect them. Distancing becomes a defense mechanism. This response often isn't conscious. They may not even realize why they're pulling away. All they know is that something inside them feels uncomfortable, and distance feels like relief. Attachment styles play a major role here. People with avoidant attachment styles tend to value independence over emotional closeness. When intimacy increases, their internal alarm system activates. They may feel trapped, controlled, or afraid of losing themselves. Pulling away helps them regain a sense of control. On the other hand, people with anxious attachment styles crave closeness but may unintentionally intensify intimacy too quickly. This can overwhelm avoidant partners, creating a push and pull dynamic where one person seeks connection while the other withdraws. Another reason people distance themselves after intimacy is unresolved past trauma. Emotional wounds from childhood or previous relationships don't disappear just because someone new enters their life. When intimacy feels similar to a past painful experience, the brain associates closeness with threat. The body reacts before logic can intervene. This is why someone can genuinely enjoy intimacy in the moment but pull away afterward. During closeness, emotions feel good. Afterward, fear catches up. Their mind starts replaying old stories. What if I get hurt? What if I lose control? What if I'm not enough? Some people distance themselves because intimacy triggers feelings of unworthiness. When someone gets too close, it challenges deeply held beliefs like, I'm not lovable, or, they'll leave once they know the real me. Instead of waiting to be rejected, they leave first. Distance becomes self-protection. There's also the fear of emotional responsibility. Intimacy creates expectations. It requires effort, communication, and emotional availability. For someone who isn't ready to show up consistently, pulling away feels easier than facing those responsibilities. It's important to understand that pulling away isn't always a sign of manipulation or lack of interest. Often, it's a sign of emotional overwhelm. Their internal world feels chaotic, and distance helps them regulate their emotions. Modern dating culture also reinforces this behavior. With endless options and low accountability, people are encouraged to disconnect instead of communicate. Ghosting and emotional withdrawal become socially acceptable ways to avoid discomfort. Another psychological factor is identity threat. Intimacy can challenge how someone sees themselves. If they've built an identity around being independent, strong, or emotionally detached, closeness can feel like a loss of self. Pulling away helps preserve that identity. Sometimes, people pull away because intimacy brings clarity. Closeness removes fantasy. It reveals reality. When emotional connection deepens, people may realize they're not as aligned as they thought. Instead of having honest conversations, they choose distance. It's also possible for people to pull away when intimacy exposes emotional incompatibility. They may care, but not in the same way. Distance becomes a way to avoid difficult truths. What's important to remember is that someone pulling away is not a reflection of your worth. It doesn't mean you did something wrong. Often, it means you touched something deep inside them that they weren't prepared to face. Trying to chase or force closeness usually backfires. Pressure increases fear. The more you push, the more they retreat. Healthy connection grows through emotional safety, not emotional demand. If someone pulls away after intimacy, the most powerful response is grounded calmness. Give space without disappearing. Maintain your self-respect. Let them feel the absence without punishment. Not everyone who pulls away is emotionally unavailable forever. Some people need time to process emotions. Others need self-awareness to break their patterns. Growth is possible, but only if they're willing to face their fears. However, it's also important to recognize when distancing becomes a pattern. Consistent emotional withdrawal can damage trust and self-esteem. You deserve connection that feels stable, not confusing. Healthy intimacy doesn't feel like emotional whiplash. It feels safe, consistent, and mutual. When someone is capable of intimacy, closeness brings comfort, not panic. Understanding the psychology behind distancing helps remove self-blame. It shifts the focus from, "What did I do wrong?" to, "What is happening inside them?" Emotional maturity means being able to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. People who distance themselves after intimacy often haven't learned this skill yet. Real connection requires courage. Courage to stay present. Courage to communicate. Courage to be seen. Until someone develops that courage, intimacy will continue to feel threatening. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is let someone go when they're not ready to meet you emotionally. Not because they're bad, but because you deserve peace. Closeness should not feel like a punishment. Love should not feel like a test you keep failing. The right connection doesn't disappear after intimacy. It deepens. Understanding this truth helps you move forward with clarity, not confusion. With self-respect, not self-doubt. And with the awareness that real intimacy begins where fear no longer controls the outcome.